So today we're looking at the Knight of Cups, and this knight embodies romance. He is on a quest for deep emotional and spiritual fulfillment. So let's have a look at the symbolism on this card. So in the middle of the card we have a knight here on a white horse, and he's got his hand out and he's holding a cup. So the white horse represents purity, nobility and the sincerity of the knight's intentions. The knight's slow and deliberate pace symbolises a gentle, introspective journey rather than a rush towards a goal. The knight's calm demeanour suggests that he is led by his heart and his emotions. So the cup signifies his emotional offering, whether it is love, friendship, creativity or spiritual insight. And this cup is a token of the knight's feelings, aspirations or invitations. It symbolises the desire to connect on a deeper emotional level and to share or receive love or to explore creative or spiritual pursuits. So the knight here is wearing armour, which represents protection, and it shows that while the knight is emotional, he does know to not be naive and to guard his heart. The wings here on the helmet suggest aspiration, dreams and higher consciousness, indicating that his quest is not only earthly but also spiritual. So they suggest a yearning to rise above the mundane and seek out higher ideals. So down here we have water, and the water represents emotions and the subconscious mind. The water is suggestive of being flowing, and that indicates that the knight's connection to his feelings and his intuition. And it suggests a journey that is fluid and adaptive, driven by the undercurrents of his emotional and intuitive life. It also emphasises the knight's ability to navigate emotional landscapes with grace. There's quite a lot of blue in this card, and the blue indicates truth and communication, and it indicates that the knight values honest emotional expression and seeks harmony and peace in his interactions. So the landscape that the knight travels on indicates fertility and growth, and it suggests the potential for emotional development and creative flourishing. It shows that the path of the knight is one of growth, where his endeavours are likely to bear fruit. Today we're looking at the Knight of Cups and how this card might show up in a reading. The Knight of Cups is represented as a charming and romantic figure. He is seen as a dreamer and a lover, and in pursuit of beauty and inspiration. He is forever seeking and looking for the deeper meaning in the emotional realm, in creativity and the world around him. So in a reading he can bring messages of love, and he often shows up to encourage us to be open to romantic possibilities. He can though warn us of being too emotionally driven and to also consider the practical side of reality. But ultimately he does encourage us to listen to our heart and follow our intuition. So in a reading he can show up to suggest romantic types of messages, or emotionally fulfilling kind of messages. So this could be a marriage proposal, it could be an invitation on a date, or an invitation to do something emotionally fulfilling. Doesn't have to be romantic. Or it could be that you may be receiving a love letter soon. He often will indicate a person who is very creative and likes to express himself creatively. So he could be a poet or somebody that's very musical, that writes their own music. It can show up in a reading to urge us to delve more into a spiritual practice, mainly to find a deeper connection to ourselves and to explore spirituality in the form of healing, to set us on a healing journey. He can show up to talk about a situation that you may be in where you are going to need to show empathy and have compassion. So somebody close to you may need a shoulder to cry on, and it may be you that's showing up to give the empathy and compassion, or it may be that you need some empathy and compassion, and that at the moment you're going through a tough time, but somebody is about to come into your life, or maybe they're already in your life, but somebody is about to come and show you that compassion and empathy and be a good listener. When this card shows up, it may be an indication that you are drawn to jobs or careers where you can be of emotional service to others, like counselling or therapy. It could show you at the start of this type of career, or you still in education around this career, as we have to bear in mind that this is the knight and not the queen or the king. So I said at the beginning of this video that this knight can be seen as a dreamer, and that is true. He very much lives in his imagination. He is a dreamer. He's looking for the deeper meaning in things, but he can sometimes indicate that the person that he's representing can get a little bit caught up in their dreams. They can become a little bit naive. They may be neglecting the more practical side of life. In relationships, in the same kind of way, it can sort of indicate that yes, it's important to follow your heart, and that your emotions play a huge part in who you want to have relationships with, but it can be a little bit of a warning to say not to allow your emotions to completely rule, and just not using any logic. So maybe entering into relationships where you're not looking at long-term kind of implications and how they may not benefit you. He can show up to indicate somebody that can be quite emotionally impulsive, so they can act on their emotions or their mood swings, possibly through behaviours, or maybe the decisions that they're making that may not lead to the best outcomes. So he can then also show up to explain that maybe a person in this situation needs to actually explore their feelings deeper, and learn to regulate their emotions a little bit better. Can suggest healing through journaling, therapy and meditation, and looking at your dreams. The way in which this knight can show up is that he can talk about a person that you may have a romantic interest in, that can be very charming and very romantic, but they're not very good at following through with, say, their promises, or maybe their actions don't match their words, or maybe they could be living in a bit of a fairy tale. So it could be that they tell you one thing, but the truth is actually very different. And this can be another person, or it could even be the person that's been read for. Maybe they have a tendency to be that way. So really, it can definitely show a person that says all the right things, very romantic, very charming, but then actually can really lack being able to commit even, so they don't kind of stay around. And finally, he can show up to talk about the finer things in life, beauty, arts. Maybe you're attending art galleries, or maybe you're just doing some shopping for some nice things, or home. Maybe you're decorating. So you're looking at what you can dress your home with, and he can show up to indicate that you're in a time right now where beauty is important, things that are pleasing to the eye, and you're enjoying creating through these things.